people are definitely overstimulated in this world. They're so disconnected, I feel, and I think I see it getting worse.
What first made you question whether conventional medicine alone was enough?
It's great at treating like emergency conditions. It's great at treating like for surgeries, for injuries. I don't personally believe that traditional medicine really handles that the best way. I feel like I had to leave my identity as a trained medical doctor.
Oh my gosh, am I thrilled to have you on my show, my dear kindred. I mean, welcome to Transform Your Confidence with Raj Girn. That's me, of course. And thank you for agreeing to be on to have what I absolutely know is going to be a soul opening discovery into optimizing our well being through marrying traditional and modern medicine philosophies. Oh my God. We have spoken about these things for so many decades. Like, folks, I just want to, before I let Shireen speak, I want to give you guys a bit of context. So, Shireen and I have known each other for, I would say, the past 18 odd years or so, but I've never had the opportunity to interview her formally like this, but we have spoken many, many times about, our shared philosophy of life. We've, tugged at a lot of thoughts where maybe we haven't agreed with each other either. But because we have so much respect for each other and the fact that we know that as individuals, we do the work. And that, so wherever we come from with the value systems and the philosophies that we believe in, those that are shared, those that maybe, we have a differing perspective on, even though there's not many of those, we have deep respect for each other. So I wanted to just set that context a little bit. You guys, off the top, I already shared a little bit about what this episode's going to be about, why Shireen is the perfect person to talk about this. So I just kind of want to say hello, Dr. Shireen Fernandez, my darling kindred. Thank you for agreeing to be on my show.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Raj. And it's such an honor and pleasure to be finally on here with you on this end of the screen. I mean, I've, seen you do amazing work with your podcast and showcase and highlight so many amazing people in the community doing amazing things. And I truly deeply value your show. I always have. But yes, what a privilege to finally be able to share my journey and my story on your amazing podcast. So, I mean, it's transforming your confidence. I mean, what an amazing title, what an amazing show you have going on. And honestly, I'm beyond thrilled to be here today to talk to you about all the amazing things that's going on in my world and to share with you and your community.
Oh my God. So I feel that we need a bit of a backstory, a bit of an origin story here, Shireen. So for context, for my community here, you've trained in internal medicine and neurology, two of the most rigorous evidence-based disciplines, which is why, it's so interesting that you glean towards kind of the ancient philosophies and kind of meld the two. I couldn't think of someone better to have this conversation with because, on one side you have people who come from the traditional medicine, the modern medicine space, and then you have other people that come from the ancient philosophies. Very rarely do you have someone that is educated deeply in both. So, what I want to ask is, what first made you question whether conventional medicine alone was enough? Can we kind of go there?
So I feel like conventional medicine is very, as we know, is very symptom based, right? So It's great at treating like emergency conditions. It's great at treating like for surgeries, for injuries, that type of stuff that goes on in our life. But I feel like the majority of people, including probably you and I, we have life happen to us where there's stress from working, there's stress from family, the burnout happens, environmental factors that we can't control. So all of these things accumulate over time and kind of trigger like this chronic response of inflammation in our body, which actually turns into, believe it or not, chronic diseases, right? And
Mm,
I just felt that there's so many cases like with diabetes, with blood pressure, even with a lot of like mental conditions. It's a lot of chronic based. And I don't personally believe that traditional medicine really handles that the best way that we know, because once again, we're treating symptoms. So a lot of symptoms that come from chronic diseases are something that we see, but there's a whole lot going on beyond that. So I always was wondering and always questioned, like, what about the root cause, right? Like, what
hmm
triggered this? And sometimes it's not even something that we're dealing with in our life right now. It could be something that happened maybe when we were a child. Growing up,
right.
could have been triggers that was never addressed, kind of was shrugged under the rug. And that in turn, I learned, becomes a chronic disease and manifests later on in life as a chronic disease. So for me, it was like, okay, this is great. Like I love medicine. I love everything about it. We have great, research happening ongoing that we're always like discovering new medicine to treat diseases. And with neurology, I mean the brain, and like I was also a psych major. To me, like that whole world is tremendously fascinating. And then it was
hmm
trying to just kind of like bridge the gap between what is the missing link. Like there has to be something missing here where chronic disease, if you look at it, it's as a country or even in the world, it's not something that's going away or decreasing. In fact, it's the opposite. The cases are increasing tremendously. So I was just looking just for my own curiosity. What's out there? What can we find? And as you know, like Ayurveda, sound healing, it's been around for a long, long time. When
hmm
I started looking into it, I found like way back when they had churches that had bells that were, I think, created or made a certain way. It's all about resonance. That when you strike the bell, it created or it emanated this beautiful frequency. Even if you go to a church, I think the way the churches are built, it's meant for that. But I feel like somewhere along the way that the whole tradition, the whole meaning behind it kind of got lost.
hmm
And I was very intrigued and amazed to find out, like, oh my gosh, that could be the missing link. Like, our body is very smart, it's inherently smart. So I feel like the body knows how to heal itself when you put it in the right environment, you make it feel safe. And there are a lot of ways to do it without just pill popping or, what's the next new treatment out there. A lot of stuff begins with us. And I feel like if people were taught how to incorporate little things in their life, like daily slight modifications, that we in turn can be our own masters of healing, just if we knew how to set the right stage for it.
Oh my gosh, you've said so much there that, I want to be able to unpack as we chat through this. But one thing that really came up was just kind of the tonality around healing. The fact that, music, we know music is a healing, feeling within us, right? And it's feeling also has kind of biological positive effects, right? Like you talked about the tonality with bells, and that's a whole other podcast. If we get into why were they removed, who
Mm,
removed them,
mhm.
I
Yes,
will have to have that discussion. But what
absolutely.
I but what I want to talk about, and again, that was kind of like more of a controlling mechanism and
Mhm.
and we know this, right? And a sheep mentality that needed to be created by those, that are in those positions. But I don't want to digress from that. And I kind of want to ask you, because I feel this will be a question that people who aren't familiar with a lot of what you said, may want some answers to. So let me ask you a couple of specifics on what you just talked about here. The first thing that kind of comes to mind for me is, was there a specific patient moment or a personal moment, or maybe a combination of both, or something that you saw in a loved one where you realized we're treating symptoms, like you said, but we're missing something deeper that's going on? And what was that you felt was missing that is deeper? Can we start there?
Even though that sounds like a simple question, it's a very loaded question.
Yes.
And to answer your question, I want to say probably all of the above. I've definitely seen patients during my training, a loved one in my life going through, the traditional ways of going to the hospital, getting admitted there and going through the protocols of what they thought was probably best for her. It was actually my grandmother, but she was so afraid of hospitals. And in her mind, like your mind is so powerful, that she just always knew that if I ever got admitted, like that would be the end of her, right? And we always like
Hmm.
talked her out of it. And I saw it. I saw it as soon as, she was admitted and she went into that role playing. That was it for her. So your mind shuts off, and I don't
Hmm.
think that anything can kind of overcome it. Where I feel like if I had the modalities or the information and the expertise that I have now, could I have done things differently for her where she could have had more relaxation, maybe at home, where it was in her environment, where that was her safe space, where she wasn't, poked and probed all the time and had blood tests and had peg tubes, and it was just not her lifestyle or way of living. She was never hospitalized. So that was one person that was very close to me that I saw how that progression declined. And
Hmm.
with traditional medicine. In the hospital, I clearly remember, and I actually mentioned that in my book, that I had a patient who had come in for, like kind of like a uneasy feeling heartache, or so of course we were doing like, oh, maybe she has an heart attack, do all the blood tests for checking if there was any cardiac markers. Did she have anything? All her tests were completely normal. And, giving that information to a patient, you would think that would help her and make her more comfortable. But in fact, she wasn't. She was more distraught than before because she couldn't understand, if all my tests are fine, but I am not feeling good. Like, what is going on?
Hmm.
So looking into that, I mean, when she got discharged, I mean, there was so much I could do, but that always like was in the back of my mind, like, okay, there is something more going on with her, and she was not the only isolated patient that I've heard that from. So looking at a whole picture, that those were things that made me like look into, okay, what more could happen. So
Hmm.
if I ever have that opportunity to talk to them on a different, like on one-on-one, like a person on person kind of basis, not a doctor patient relationship, you kind of you get them to open up, and then you hear like, oh, wait a minute, there's other stressors going on in their life, whether it's a relationship that's triggering her, whether it's her kids, it's work. It's a lot of times that I hear it's usually like a work-life balance. There's something going on. It's either both or one of them, where that trigger is there, and it's constantly there, and it's not something that you can just take an aspirin and make it go away, right? So your heart is very like highly emotional. It has like 40,000 neurons. It's not just a pumping machine. So you have to treat your organs differently. I feel like you have to treat it with more respect. You can't, you're not, we are a whole person, but as we are individuals, so are our organs and our body parts. So you can't just be, oh, I'm very stressed out today. Let me take a pill and feel my headache's going to go away. Well, what caused that headache? You have to look
Hmm.
into things behind it. So those were some of the stories that led me question the root cause behind things. And it's amazing how many times you see the common denominator to be stresses, like your daily stresses in life. And you can't really, of course, you can't turn it off, but how do you deal with it better? Um, it's just about really identifying what those are and whether, if you're comfortable to talk to somebody that can help you, if you're open-minded, and no way I'm saying like this is the go-to treatment, it's complementary. You are meant to go to your regular doctor, but this is something when the regular medications and treatments and protocols that you're doing is not working, the chronic condition still persists, and you're
Mm-hmm.
still not feeling good. What do you do then? For me, it's basically simple. Like, I'm just reminding your body, like, the ancient ways that it already knows how to heal, just giving it a safe environment, maybe introducing it to certain sounds and frequencies that are around, but we're not really tuning into it. And just giving that your body, your mind, your soul, that information that it probably forgot from a long time ago, just reintroducing it. And
Mm-hmm.
then as an individual, what does that make you feel? Do you want to explore more? I welcome that, but no way am I forcing or trying to, push this on to anybody. But I feel like a lot of people, when they hear about this, they are inquisitive, they are curious to know, because this is something that is very real. It's around us all the time. A lot of, I think, Eastern medicine do touch on it. I was reading something that I think is in Japan where doctors actually prescribe hugging trees. Like, tree hugging is a real thing, because in nature, like, the trees, like, they send out vibrations and frequencies, and just by, you don't have to really hug it, but even if you sit around a tree and walking through a garden or a forest, and you can feel it. It's a
Mm-hmm.
tangible feeling. Going to the ocean, like the sound, the waves, just grounding your feet. Like, we're walking on shoes all the time, but try, like, going barefoot on the grass, and see how that feels. And
Mm-hmm.
going walking on the beach, like, it's such a healing, calming feeling that I would encourage everybody to just try it and just see how you feel. And then question yourself, like, what brought about that change? How do I feel different? And it's not like woo-woo stuff. And I'm guilty. I thought this was like woo-woo medicine until I started looking into it. And research actually has been done from like the 1940s. So it's not something new. It's just not around as much
Mm-hmm.
as traditional medicine is.
It's really interesting, what you're saying there, Shireen, because, you know, we feel as a, civilized, I quote, put quote marks around that, as a civilized, society or community, that everything starts and ends with the modern way that we live, right? We feel that things, are only discovered if they've been discovered recently. And what we don't realize is that everything has already been discovered, right? Everything's already been discovered for every aspect of life, right? What we're doing is we are trying to make sense of it through the black and white lens of data points, right? Like, that's because we're trained as humans in modern society that if this has some way of being proven or we can replicate it, that that's what science is, that's what modern science is, then it is a real solution, right? But what we don't realize from a lot of the work that I've done as well in just learning, going back through scriptures, going back through the ideologies that come from the Vedas, that come from ancient writings, all of what we feel we're discovering today, right? Like flight, like, all of these other things has been around for thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years in other cyclical, civilizations. What we're doing is we're discovering it now. Like, for example, if you look at a lot of, and this is just so fascinating for me, so I have to share this with you. If you look at a lot of the discoveries in the Western world, they didn't come about until they went in and, you know, took over India. right? Then flight, then all of these other things started to come about as we have discovered this as the West. But there were already discoveries that were there in the East. So the reason I wanted to share that is the work that you're doing that I feel is so important and so fascinating to me that we feel is innovative is actually rooted in today's ideologies as well as yesterday's philosophies. And the one without the other doesn't give us the full picture as
Mhm.
humans, right? Like, share your thoughts on that. Oh my God, there's so much to talk about.
I know. No, you're absolutely right. And a lot of times, like even in current like medicine, I feel like the best discoveries are discovered by accident, right? But
Yes.
but going back to what you're saying, absolutely, like there was so much knowledge and so much, I feel, purity back in the days, like with like Ayurvedic times and like if you go back like in all like the Vedas and findings that like scriptures and writings that they find now, like it's amazing to see. But I just feel like I often wonder like how did it get lost? Like where did that information or why did it not transfer over and why was it not consistent? So I honestly don't know the answer to that, but
Can I give you
um
the answer?
yes, please.
Can I tell you what my philosophy here is? I
Mhm.
believe that because of the caste system, the way it was in eras past, like bygone eras, because there's four different eras where, as far as Hinduism, the belief system behind Hinduism, which I subscribe to. The very last one, which is Kali Yuga, the one we're living in today, it's here where although a lot of you know negativity is surfacing, it's through the darkness that you can discover what's
Yeah.
right. Like sometimes it's like the shadow work we do, the
Yeah.
you only know darkness exists, right? Or you only know light exists because there's the counterpart, the polarity of darkness, right? So I feel that I feel it's a loss that is being rediscovered is because casteism had the Brahmins be the only ones that knew the scriptures. So as soon as that system got lost, right now, we don't know that. It's not being taught to, regular people. So we feel like we're discovering something new, but what we're doing is we are rediscovering what was already discovered. It's just that the reason it got lost is because the only people that knew it were the Brahmins in India, right, in ancient times.
Mhm.
And it wasn't written in those days, right? It was past. It was the spoken word that then went to the written word that went into all the other ways that we provide and consume content, right, sweetheart? So
Mhm.
I feel that's kind of the reason, and this is why I always come back to this whole ideology is that, and you and I have talked about this. We're remembering
Mhm.
what we already know
Yes.
from a past life,
Oh yeah.
and we are rediscovering what has already been discovered. There are no
Mhm.
new discoveries. That's just what I believe in.
Mhm.
And your comments there, I just feel like I need that comment before we move into the work that you are doing now at the intersection between, modern medicine and ancient medicine.
I absolutely completely agree with you. I feel like that information back in the days was very privileged and like kept with a certain group of people in order to, I don't know, not share it for whatever reason. But I definitely know now with the digital world that we're living in, everything is, so easily shared. Thank God for that.
Yes.
And yes, you're right. We are remembering and rediscovering information that has been around for a long time. And I always say it's about time that this information is brought to the forefront for
Hmm.
everybody to learn from and rediscover and remember because we are at the age of Aquarius. So
Yes.
in that, I mean, that says a lot. That's like a whole nother portal. You know, I love
I
my
got to bring
portal.
you on, sister. You got to come back. We have so many topics to discover and talk
Yeah,
about. But, obviously today's discussion is just the fascinating way that you have married these two and melded these two worlds because you saw that there wasn't a full solution in modern medicine alone, right? So I
right.
want to ask you this because I feel it's really important for people to understand where this came from for you. What did you have to perhaps unlearn in order to step into this work and be able to kind of expand the thought process behind, well, is there something else? Because as a trained medical doctor, that's a very, very data driven world as per the markers that are accepted within that industry. Talk to us a little bit about that shift for you.
To answer your question, I feel like I had to leave my identity as a trained medical doctor and everything that I had learned just to kind of put it on pause, not to, discriminate against any information because it's all valid, but just to open my mind and allow this information to come in. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I was skeptical coming in. I really was.
Hmm.
Because I
As
didn't
you
even,
should be, as you
right.
should be. You're a trained medical doctor. Everything has to be proven. There needs to be data points, right? So I
Mhm.
get it. But the interesting thing is that there's different data points here. And you
Yes.
can only know them if you do the work internally. So share that.
So I mean, I just feel like I think like this world is becoming more prominent, at least where I'm at, like right now in South Florida. When I lived back up in the Northeast, I honestly never heard of this before. Like this was not something that people talked about. Yoga studios and stuff like that was around, and you never heard about sound healing and what a sound bath is. So honestly
Hmm.
had no idea. I just thought it was like, another like a spa treatment, something you just go and get like relax. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think that was my first experience. I was looking for a massage place and I was just looking online and I heard about this wonderful place in town, but it was not like a traditional massage place. It was more like a shop as well, but they had a lot of like crystals and gemstones and in that spectrum. So I tried it and I was surprised when they said, "Oh, well, would you like," and because normally I've been used to like, and I'm sure you have, you get hot stones on your body,
Yes.
which is wonderful.
Yes.
I love it. So I thought, okay, maybe this is something similar. No clue, had no idea. And it wasn't. I mean, they had asked like on the intake form, maybe they asked me a few questions, which I actually didn't even like pay any attention to. But later on, I realized that those questions yielded what stones maybe they use. And it was gemstones. And maybe that was the first time I heard some kind of a bell of some sort. And I had no clue what that was. All I what it's what I felt, right, from coming out of that treatment. I'm like, wow, this was more than a massage, and my body feels great, but also like my mind and like spiritually I felt something. So it was
Hmm.
something tangible. So the first time I'm like, okay, it's no big deal. It was great. But then when, it kind of occurred to me, let me try that again. Like instead of going to a regular massage, I'm like, you know what, I want to try that again and see, was that a one-time thing or is there something more to it? So doing that a few times piqued my interest and I went and I asked more about that. Like what was that? Like what did you put on? It wasn't hot stones. Like tell me what's behind it. And oh boy, like did that open a whole world of like wow. And I was in awe, honestly. Like, what do you mean? Like crystals are real, like they're energized and they can do so much to your energetic body. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? Right. That's when I discovered there's a biofield around us that we don't talk about in traditional medicine. And
Hmm.
I've always said like the missing link was is nutrition because they don't teach us that in school. And I don't understand why, because you are what you eat. So the
Mm-hmm.
first thing before you're even popping a pill, like a pharmacological pill, is your food and your garden. And that is like your medicine. Food is medicine, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it just sparked like an interest in a whole another world, which I honestly kind of I feel like I fell upon accident, but I think I was divinely guided. I truly believe that. And honestly, that was just like a stepping stone. And they had a machine in this space, believe it or not, where you put your hand on it. And I'm first, of course, I'm gonna tell you, like, I'm just like, okay, this is like unreal. Like this can't be anything. Like, what does this mean? But honestly, I put my hand on it. It reads your aura. It's an aura reading machine, which that was my
Mm-hmm.
first exposure to it ever. And you see it
Mm-hmm.
on the screen. So I'm very, visual. And then
Yeah.
it gives you a PDF almost report, which I was fascinated by because I'm, like you said, data driven. I need to know what does this mean? Like, okay, there's colors, but what does it mean? And it was almost like, no, I kid you not, it was about a 20-page report. And it went like so like deeply, like, okay, what does like this mean? Like the color in your, around your crown is a different color than around your like your chakras, and the chakras all lined up with different colors. And
Mm-hmm.
wow. All I can say is, wow, did that just like had me like I was speechless. I didn't want to I didn't want to show that I was like beyond amazed at that point. I took it home. I sat with it, I looked at it, read it, analyzed it, and of course, when, Googled it, looked up more into it, and right there, I think that opened all these doors for me because I was like, how do I not know about this? Like for myself, forget like, other people that I talked to, but myself, like, how did I not know that? Like I would always like told you, like we're a triune, it's mind, body, spirit, and we're only
Mm-hmm.
treating like the body, but the mind and the spirit, they're all interconnected. And honestly, Raj, like this was that missing link for me where it was my aha moment where I
Mm-hmm.
was so happy that I kind of discovered something that is such a like an inherent part of us that how could you totally like dismiss it? And I feel like it has been dismissed. So
Mm-hmm.
now I feel like there's more, maybe more aura reading machines and inventions out there that I think I just read an article recently that now scientists have discovered that on your fingertips, they can see with different imaging like light. So I
Mm.
mean, I was like, okay, this it all makes sense, right?
Yes,
Traditional
yes,
healers way back when they only heal with their hands. Why? Because your
yes.
hands are like divinely, like there is power in them, like there
Mm-hmm.
are healing modalities right within our body, and it's about how you think, what you manifest. Your thoughts are energy, what you put out there, it's all interconnected. Like healing from like your own self like is powerful, it's real. Like I just
Mm-hmm.
would remember like anytime we injure ourselves, what do we first do? We hold it with our hands. What are we doing without even knowing? We're healing ourselves, which
Yes.
is fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that was where it was my aha moment.
Mm-hmm.
Everything changed for me. I just, kept looking and diving in deeper and deeper. And I
Mm-hmm.
found that there was a whole nother world that was there for me to discover.
Yeah,
That was the beginning of my journey. And look like where it's brought me today. And I want to say we
absolutely.
started, I want to say about 3 years ago. And it's constantly, I swear, I'm learning new things every single day, every single hour. And
You
it's
know,
I can't like say enough about like the discovery of this, of how connecting like our mind, body, spirit, the triune that we are. And I feel like
mm,
it's something that everybody should know about. It's not a privileged information. Like this is us, this is humanity. I always say like we're spiritual beings having a human experience. So how can you forget that part of who we are?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, so much to unpack there, Shireen. I want to go into the work that you do so people can, truly understand it. But something just came to my mind as you were kind of sharing that. And thank you for sharing it. Such a visceral experience that you had. It's like you couldn't, what I'm hearing you say is that you couldn't ignore the data that was showing up within yourself, right? That's
Oh,
what was
absolutely.
going on here, right?
Yes, yes. How
Yeah,
can you? Like it was like in my face.
yeah.
It's
You,
in front of me.
and it's so interesting because, I just feel that everything just really truly does make sense if you go out there looking to find how everything's linked. And, for example, you just said something there about, you know, the research around the fingertips and it having, light
Mhm,
eminence in there, and
mhm.
which means that, light, we know that, the force of light is healing. We know this, right? And it's so interesting because when you look at the life of, Jesus, right? This is coming to me, so I've got to share it with you. And I know you'll
Mhm.
appreciate this. You look at the life of Jesus, and, what did he say, right? His entire philosophy was Sanatam Dharma, which is like, a Hindu philosophy. Those 12 years that he went on his travels, there are so many data points that state that one of his visits was to India, right? So
Yeah,
he learned Sanatam Dharma because his philosophy that he came back to Israel, right? And the Abrahamic, philosophies and, religion was quite different from the Sanatam Dharma philosophies and religion that he went on a journey, on a soul searching journey, on a journey that was divine, from the divine, where he wanted his son to have what you said, a human experience. And through the human experience, he was to then teach his philosophy. And the philosophy he taught was what, Shireen? We've talked about this so many times, right? And I want to share it here for everyone who are watching, listening, and reading this. He talked about going within. He said that, heaven is within. So this went against the Abrahamic philosophies, that heaven is outside of you and that you need to be invited in. But heaven is within you. You need to find it. And this is exactly what Jesus taught, which is why everything happened the way it did, right? And the miracles we talk about, right? He said that the miracles are not just what I can do. These miracles are what you can do. It's in all of us. So the touch that you were talking about, it's like, and this is a long-winded way of me sharing what happened to me when you shared that about the
mhm. The finger.
light. That yeah, the light. He learned how to use what he already had divine in his spirit within the physical form of the human body. And that's what I feel a lot of the work that you are doing now is about, is what is the physicality within us that we have not been taught, that we can see how we can heal ourselves. Jesus did it, right? Brahma did it. We can do it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the teachings are all there. It's right there. It's in our faces. It's just about really analyzing it and maybe reading between the lines because he did
Yes.
say, like, you are made, like, we are made in the image of him or in the image of
Yes.
God. I mean,
What
right
does that
there.
mean, right? Like
Right
the
there.
problem is that people look at that, oh, okay, God looks like a human. No,
No.
no,
Even
right?
animals, like all living creatures, like we're all connected. We're all made of the same stardust. That's the way I look
Yes.
at it,
I
honestly.
completely agree with you. I completely agree with you, sweetheart. And, so let's talk about that a little bit. Let's define your work around this because I feel that people, who are, will resonate to the work that you do, needed the context here, needed to understand where you came from, right? This is not where you were, born in the world of woo woo, right? You
Right.
right? And what is woo woo? Woo woo means, and it's just it's a term I
I
hate.
know. I know,
Woo,
me too.
right? It's like woo woo means you don't understand it. That's
Exactly.
what I say.
Yeah.
You don't understand it. That's what it
Mhm.
means. So let's define your work further, sweetheart. You talk about whole person healing, right? The body, the mind, the spirit. What does that actually look like in practice beyond the buzzwords? Like, I know that again is that's like a whole book, right? And
Mhm.
we'll talk about your book shortly as well. But if you were to share it with someone that doesn't understand and you were to high level it, let me ask you again, what does it actually look like in practice beyond the buzzwords to talk about whole person healing, the body, the mind, and the spirit from what you've learned?
So from what I've learned, people are definitely overstimulated in this world. They're so disconnected, I feel, and I think I see it getting worse with you know, technology. We're living in a digital world, so that human touch is not there anymore. There's such a disconnection. There's so much burnout. And I just feel like when you're disconnected from true restoration, how do you bring that in? You know, you can meditate, of course, but a lot of people think that meditation is sitting in a room or with your legs crossed and, you know, and just turning everything out and like chanting or doing whatever, which is actually not true. You can Meditation can have so many different forms. I mean, that's great to silence the mind and do all of that in the traditional form. But honestly, you could be listening to your favorite tunes and what it does to you in your mind, body, and spirit, like that feeling that you get of euphoria, of relaxation, of calmness, of happiness. Those are all different ways of actually healing that you're not even really aware of. So it's individualized. You can do whatever feels right to you. There's no right or wrong way. I'm just here to basically remind you and your body that it's a safe space, just to provide the frequencies that, you know, that you can actually find around yourself. Like, just go out in nature. That's like the best therapy I can give, that you don't even have to come to me. You don't have to listen to any kind of frequencies. That brain entrainment happens where you're basically getting your nervous system to go into the parasympathetic mode and like calm, which is going to evoke calmness and relaxation. But that's basically what I'm doing. It's nothing
Mhm.
like magical. It's something that I think it's available all around us, like in nature. But if you come to me, like, I am discovering and sharing the world of sound, where, you know, a Tibetan bowl has certain frequencies that's tuned into. So when you hear it, it actually goes into your cells, and
Mhm.
there's vibrating oscillations happening, which is kind of like fine tuning it, recalibrating it to a state of like being calm and restored. That's basically the
Mhm.
whole gist of all the, you know, taking out all the fancy words from it. That's what it's doing.
Mhm.
And I've discovered from my, you know, many years of practicing and researching and also training in vibroacoustic therapy, where certain frequencies are targeted towards certain organs, even not just your brain, not just your
Mhm.
heart, even your gut. So if I give you certain frequencies, say you're stressed out, say you're having GI issues, like, right? So those are two different organ systems, which I would treat it differently. You don't treat It's not a one size fits all at all. So
Mhm.
giving your body just the frequencies that it already knows, it inherently has it. It's just out of tune. All I'm doing is presenting this environment, making you hear it, so your body's receiving it at a cellular level.
Mhm.
It's oscillating at that level where maybe there was a discrepancy in it. It's just recalibrating it, fine tuning it, so you actually get into a deep healing theta phase. It's so fascinating, Raj. I can't begin to tell you.
Oh my sweetheart, I'm sold on this. Like it all makes sense to me. It all makes sense to me. Because everything to me is about frequency, whether it's the lower frequency, the middle frequency, the high frequency, or the highest frequency, right? I'm
Mhm.
so sold on this. So I want to ask, how is quantum harmonic wellness different from what most people think of when they hear wellness today? I feel you've answered this, but I want people to get the succinct understanding.
So, my quantum harmonic wellness is more, I bring what I say is a physician lens to the whole modality. It's not just like your regular wellness spa, where there's nothing wrong with that, but with my training, I can discern, safety. I can personalize your treatments based on my medical knowledge because, not like I said, it's not one size fits all. Um, the goal is to support the whole person, not just isolated symptoms. So you and even your siblings are not to the same people, right? Yes, you share same DNA, but your your mannerisms, your etiquettes, your behavior, your lifestyle, it all makes you as an individual person. So you coming in and like your family member coming in, it's completely totally different. So I
Mm-hmm.
look at the whole picture. I take in, into account your, of course, your medical history, but also your stressors, like what triggers you, what makes you happy, and your environment, like what is surrounding you, because you're spending a lot of time probably in a particular space, whether it's work or home. And those, you might not even realize there's certain things that you might be encountering on a daily basis that might not be something that is benefiting you. It could be triggering you subconsciously that you're not aware of.
Mm-hmm.
So, with my background, me fusing all of this together, it is physician led holistic wellness where I bring to the table all of my training. I put it together. So there's discernment, there's safety, there's personalization with the protocols that I offer.
I love it. So I want to ask you this. Maybe this is a story of self, or maybe this is a story of someone that you've worked with. Just so we can apply context to this for anyone that is coming to this philosophy for the first time. Can you share a transformation story where someone, came in with physical symptoms? It could even be a story of yourself,
Mhm.
but the real breakthrough happened somewhere deeper, which in turn led to, you doing kind of the unique framework of treatments that you just finished talking about. Because it's highly customized, as you mentioned. It's not possible to have an end result without knowing the starting point, right? Like I totally get that. Is there an experience that you had with a client, or is there an experience you can share even deep within yourself that can help us understand what's possible?
Sure. I actually did have a client, a female, who just came in, she was just having maybe like aches and pains, stress with life, meeting dead ends and not really maybe flourishing, but nothing beyond that. And as we started therapy, maybe like the first session wasn't anything too alarming or nothing crazy came out of that. It was,
Mm-hmm.
I want to say maybe the second or third session where she felt much more calm and relaxed and felt like she was in a safe space, that she was able to open up. And by asking discerning questions, we came to a point where she had a lot of trauma with growing up and with a parent figure where she had only, say, one parent, but that parent was not a positive figure in her life. So she didn't have that maternal relationship that I feel is very important. But
Mm-hmm.
having that missed in your life shows up, it manifests in different forms later on in life. And as we went through it, I think it was like around like her solar plexus, that chakra that we were working on. So a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times like we store stress in organs. So, normally we feel like tightness here or tightness there, but it goes a whole further than that. Like we're all atoms
Mm-hmm.
vibrating at a certain frequency. So imagine like giving your body that frequency that it's lacking. It was so depleted that it's like it's nourishment. It's like a nourishment almost for the soul. So
Mm-hmm.
getting that is like over a couple sessions, I think it led to a point where there was a release and she finally was able to share a lot of personal stuff, which she literally was like, I mean, there was a lot of trauma there where she just broke down and cried for a long time. And
Mm-hmm.
it was, I mean, it was so highly transformative for me to witness that, but to see that transformation in her within like 3 sessions, that she was actually able to open up and release all this stored trauma from her childhood that she was not even aware of. Just having
Mm-hmm.
that conversation and working with her and, picking up the different tonalities in her body, like I could see, like there was something going on here, but without
Mm-hmm.
really, going into medical cause, it was just like, okay, I feel like there's a discrepancy in tone. Your this chakra sounds very depleted. So let's restore it. Let's give it more what it needs on like a vibratory level. And
Mm-hmm.
in doing so, it was profound. Like I saw this person the next time and she was a different person. It was almost like in her own words, her inner child, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that
Mm-hmm.
was traumatized, that was left behind, completely forgotten, but that's always a part of you. And how dealing with it, how letting that surface and actually breaking it up and like physically releasing it. I mean, I saw it, it was almost tangible, and like that release, whether it's crying, whether it's screaming. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, everybody has a different way of releasing, but you do what your body calls for,
Yeah.
and she did it that way. And I mean, that was a great success story that I'm so happy to see her restored. Like I saw the impact it had on her, on like the constant, the other sessions that followed, where she was a
Mm-hmm.
different person. Like she had way more confidence than when she first walked in. She was able to like deal with stuff head on, where before maybe she was like had an avoidant personality, which it was great. Like I didn't expect, honestly, it was more than I expected. Where to see, wow, like here she was, like ready to take on the world, only because
Wow.
she had dealt with all of that trauma stored in her body that was coming from childhood that she was not aware of. So it's amazing to see what people are subconsciously storing that could be from, years ago. It's just, it's like so transformational that it gives me so much joy to see that in a client.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God. While you were sharing that, Shireen, I have to tell you, like, there was moments where I felt like I was gonna cry while I was hearing this because it's just like people need peace. People need well-being. People need happiness. People need all the things that, you just shared in this one particular case. And just the fact that, you've had this idea, this incredible idea of, you know, restoring all aspects of what makes us who we are. The physicality, because there has to be a ground zero, right? And what shows up in the body, right, helps you, because that's what I'm hearing you say, is helping you to find modalities that you can help them with. You talked about Reiki here. You talked about the tonality of sound healing, right? Earlier on, you were speaking about your own personal experience with stones, right?
Mhm.
It's like it's insane what we have access to that we don't even know what to do with it to be able to heal. And when we see the trauma and the pain and the angst that humanity goes through because they don't know, because they are in the dark, because they don't have the knowledge, because, somehow we've been so trained to only look one way. And if that doesn't provide us with the solutions to our personal situation, then there's something wrong with us, right, Shireen? We're mad, we're crazy, we're all the things because that that box is defining whether we are healthy or not. What you're doing with the work you're doing, what I'm hearing you say, is that you are expanding that box to an infinite expansion of opportunities depending on what it is that a person is dealing with. Share your thoughts around that. Am I getting it right? What you're
Mm-hmm.
sharing?
Of course. Like just what you said, like people just want to be seen. People just want to be heard, right? Like when you
Hmm.
go, when you go to your doctor, I feel like sometimes like being like wearing the white coat, like we don't have enough time to spend with the patient. Like honestly, all I want to do is talk to them and find out more about like their life and what's going on, because it's not just what they're coming in for, but what was the list of things that caused that to occur. So I know
Mm-hmm.
that it's like we just don't have, I guess, enough time or the space, but all we want to do as humans is want to be seen, want to be heard, want to share stories, whether it's joy, whether it's pain or sorrow. And I just feel like just sometimes, just to quiet the mind and remind yourself that you are human. Well, your spirit having a human experience, and so is the person in front of you and around you. So why not get to that level and become one? Like it's all about becoming one, because we are one with everything. So that is my philosophy that I bring into this in all aspects of my life whenever it's possible. Sometimes it's not, but in my mind it is. I might not be able to maybe open my mouth and share it at that particular moment, but why are we seeing burnout? Why are we seeing sleep issues? Why are we seeing chronic conditions? Is because we're missing the root cause of it. And all I'm doing is just simply reminding people that we have the power to heal, right? We're capable of doing it. All we need is a little bit of maybe like information, of being seen, being heard, being acknowledged, and just being treated with love and kindness, which I feel is missing in this world today.
Mm-hmm.
And a
Mm-hmm.
little goes a long way. And if I can bring that to somebody and change their mood and make them more restored, more calm, more balanced, get them to actually learn more from it, and for their own selves, be inquisitive, be curious, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to
Mm-hmm.
be curious in this world. You can't just take everything that we get. There's information overload all the time. You can't just take it for what it is with a grain of salt. No, I'm not about that. Question everything. Don't I'm not saying don't believe me. Please go and like look it up, do the research. It's all out there. It's
Yes.
just it's just forgotten, and we're just remembering. And I'm just here to be like that tool, that catalyst, and if you want to say that, just to remind you of something that we already know. It's in us,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like it's time that the world opened up to this, and I'm happy that I'm able to share, this guidance, this wisdom that's been around for a long time, that is all about healing and self-healing and healing the world in the process. It is a
Mm-hmm.
collective issue as well.
Absolutely. And you just brought something to my mind that I want to share with you, Shireen. Oftentimes when there is some sort of a physical irregulation that's taking place, right? There's taboos around some of it, which is why people don't want to go to the doctor. They don't want to learn more about what's going on. Like maybe I'll have a disease, etc., right? But you know what the fascinating thing for me is that, and this comes back to your point that you've mentioned a couple of times here, that, this is the soul having a human experience, right? So
Mhm.
what's coming to me with this conversation that you and I are having is that if the soul isn't healed for some reason, right? And we talk about kind of generational, um, you know,
Trauma.
soul healing and all, yes, all of that, like generational trauma and bloodline trauma and all of these things. Whether you believe it or not isn't the point I'm making here. What I'm saying here is all of this stuff that's locked away in our soul, if you are a believer like me, that our soul is constantly on a journey to find out more about itself. I feel that the most magnificent experience you can have to learn that is to be in the physical body form, because it tells you what the trauma is if you listen to it. It's telling you what it is. So I feel that that taboo around accepting that there's something showing up physically, which is the whole work you do, right? I feel it's really, really important for us to do because the body is born to die. The soul is experiencing, this is how I see it, the soul is experiencing through the body the things that it has not healed because it's physically showing up. So
Right.
that's what I'm hearing when you're talking around this whole idea of nervous system regulation. Your comments there.
So the body responds to rhythm, you know? I
Right.
couldn't, like, it's just one simple way to say it. And healing is not always about doing more. Sometimes it's just like softening yourself enough to just receive, be on the receiving end, whether it's information, whether it's sound vibrations, whether it's Ayurvedic ancient wisdom. Like, just quiet your mind, be open minded, ask questions, question everything, but be able and open to receive. I just feel like true wellness is it's deeply personal, and I just wanted to create a model of care that feels both like refined, real, deeply personalized, elegant, and very individualized. And me bringing that to you, to your audience, to the community, to the world, I feel is my greatest gift right now. It's my purpose of being here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's just like accumulation of combining all of my prior knowledge, and I'm always thirsty for knowledge. I always have been that way. So I'm so grateful for that curiosity of mine. I encourage others to be as curious, you know. Learning it's constant. You're always going to learn, but just be open-minded to receive it. And if you get
Mm-hmm.
something profoundly that does shift something in you, you know, receive it and ask more and share more.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's all about. It's all about loving yourself and loving others.
Oh my gosh. Amen to that, sister. You know,
Mhm.
I want to ask you this because, the work that I do at the Open Chest Confidence Academy, the podcast focus is about, helping women bridge the gap between their competence and their confidence, right? In whatever form that is missing for you. Part of that is the discovery process. A lot of what you're talking about here is, discovering what is going on and listening to it and then finding an expansive toolbox of opportunities to see what can help you fix it. Sometimes it's a cocktail, sometimes it's just the one straight up solution. So
Mhm.
I want to ask you this. Why do so many high functioning women who externally look so successful but internally they feel so dysregulated? What is going on? Like, especially with those types of women. I want to address that because a lot of my audience, a lot of my community are those women. I want to help them with having the pleasure of having you on.
I feel for, especially for women, I mean, you know, I feel like there is a disconnect, especially for women in that space, because I think we're not trying to like outdo the next person. I just think that we're just, I don't know if we're trying to prove things to ourselves more. And maybe in doing so, we kind of probably get caught up in that world where I feel self-care gets neglected a lot of times. And in doing so, I mean, if you're not taking care of yourself, does that spill onto other aspects of your life? Probably. And
Yeah,
I feel that, you know, that it could start with like one small, like you forgot one small, you know, neglecting something, and that can add on. And I think that shows up for women differently, but at the same time, like that burnout, that disengagement, that competitiveness, that jealousy, I I've been trying to actually wonder about that a lot. I was
mm-hmm.
actually wondering if I should do more, you know, like a research article on it and see how that connects to like the wider spectrum of things. But that is very interesting. Actually, you brought that up, Rod, because that I do see that around a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah,
And I don't know if we're, I mean, there's a lot of difference with gender.
mm,
Men are just like taught not to express themselves, at least women do. But
right.
I feel that maybe when we are in that space where it is so competitive, maybe we lose that essence of sharing, of that human touch of connecting rather than
Mm-hmm.
seeing the next competitor as competition. I
Mm-hmm.
think that if we looked at that person as a person, as a
Mm-hmm.
woman coming from the same background, okay, what are her struggles, right? We might not see what she's bringing to the podium that day, but what was a day like? What got her there? There's so
Mm-hmm.
many factors. It's like there's so many moving parts that I feel that if you just pause and talk to that person as a person, not by who their title is, you would get a lot out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, just seeing them as this figure that they want you to see, they hide a lot of it there. And so it's about peeling the layers and
Yes.
allowing them to be seen, to be heard from their essence of who they really are. What made them, what's their makeup? What brought them to this level? It wasn't, they didn't just wake up
Mm-hmm.
into the limelight, right? There was a lot of hard work and a lot of stories there that might not have been shared. It could have been, shrugged under the rug. So it was like just like my client, just like talking to them, learning like what are their triggers, what makes them happy, what makes them
Mm-hmm.
sad. Those are things I feel women at that space maybe are not allowed to share publicly. So it's a lot that's kept behind closed doors. And I feel like
Mm-hmm.
if you gave them a space to kind of like shut that whole persona behind and just come out and be more authentic, I think you
Mm-hmm.
would see a whole different side of them. And they might be more empowered to, to share their that struggles with other people who might be their competition, but maybe they wouldn't see them as that anymore. They might just see them as,
Mm-hmm.
you know what, that's just another soul who's in a similar journey as me. So let me see how can I help her rather than what can I do to like out compete her.
Mm-hmm. You know, I would be so interested in any research that you do around this piece because as a woman yourself, as you know, we have been exposed to all of the above, right? Like we've at some point also been versions of, that woman, right?
Mhm.
I would love to see the work that you do around that as well, because it is a deeper layered prong than it is for men, because society and religion and culture has predominantly been made for men by men, right? So, how do you fit in the essence of the other type of being as a female, right? Because female is like, I always go back to, my teachings, like when you look at Shiv Shakti, right? Shakti is energy, right?
Mhm.
Shiv is stillness and knowledge, but without movement and the fire and the energy of Shakti, this just stay still and quiet. Like it requires it. So, have we created a world without Shakti? That perhaps all of us Shaktis as women are trying to find our way in a place that we aren't. So, what is the work around that we need to do? I feel it starts with the nervous system dysregulation. So I want to
Mhm.
ask you this. Again, this is something that you and I could deep dive forever, right?
Mhm.
But to bring it back in and hone it back in to the work that you do, how does nervous system dysregulation show up in everyday life in ways people don't even realize? So, we can, at the very peripheral level at least, invite our community here to start looking into this at the very, you know, lowest level of entry.
So the vagus nerve is actually like the longest running nerve, and it is like your parasympathetic, but it connects a lot of different organs in your body. And it's amazing how if you just try to calm your vagus nerve, what the profound effects of that are. So if I
Mm,
were to like bring a Tibetan bowl around you and just give you that frequencies, it's literally going into your vagus nerve. That it starts to oscillate and it transforms those sound frequencies into your different organs. Like that's the science behind it. The same
okay.
goes for tuning forks. Like, I mean, being a neurologist, like we use tuning forks for different reasons, but I had no idea the spectrum of other things that it can be used for. There's weighted and there's non-weighted, but they all have specific frequencies that, I mean, I have one of my, it's my favorite. It's 128 hertz, and I've seen the profound effects that it has on you. I mean, I would love when I see you and offer you a session just so you can see how little it takes for you to get into from beta state to theta and like a much more relaxed. And honestly, I've had clients, including my family members,
Hmm.
like they pass out. They're gone. They're sleeping like
That would be
within.
me. That would be me.
But that's where, you know, your body needs to get into that brainwave state in order for healing to occur. And it's not when you go to sleep at night. You can have restored moments throughout the day. Why not, right?
Hmm.
But to answer your question, just stimulating that, but on a daily basis, like where there's so much noise,
Hmm.
right? That
Hmm.
you're actually doing the opposite. It's triggering your sympathetic response. So you're almost always in a fight or flight response. The cortisol levels are high, your stress hormones are high, and that's why I see it a lot with people having sleep issues. It's because of this dysregulation. So it's very easy to take melatonin. It's very easy to, you know, take sleeping pills, but I would, you know, tell you not to do that and just try a different modality where you're not introducing chemicals into your body because your body doesn't is not looking for it. It's just looking
Hmm.
to harmonize. It's just about harmony. And
Oh,
just
can
even
you say that again? Can you say that again?
yes, it's all about harmonizing like your body. It's just giving your state of being like have it harmonized. It's just bringing harmony into your life, and I'm telling you, I promise you, it's gonna cause you so much like release of stress. I'm not like promising like, oh, you're gonna have a stress-free life, but just even within a half an hour to see somebody come in all stressed out, have them like on your or on their table, on their bed, wherever is comfortable, get them in from that high stress frequency into going into theta where they're
Hmm.
very relaxed, they sleep, they pass out for a few minutes until I bring them back, and you wake up and you can visibly see the difference, and then to hear the feedback from the client about how restored they feel, how stress free they feel within that small session is very rewarding to me. And it's not, I'm
Hmm.
not saying don't believe it, you know, experience it. Experience
Yeah.
it for yourself. Listen to it. I mean, I know you can go on YouTube and listen to different frequencies, whether it's for deep sleep or just, you know, even guided meditations are great for that if you infuse it with certain frequencies that will allow your body to go into a deeper, calmer theta brainwave. So there's science behind it. It is proven. Everything that I do is evidence based. It's all about, you know, getting your body into a parasympathetic, relaxed state of mind.
Absolutely. You know, you just put something to my thought process because I'm in that phase. Menopausal women. Talk to me, sister. We've got all of the above, the inflammation, because this is all, part of it is, as you rightfully mentioned, is the trauma and the stress and all the other things, spiritually and, you know, experientially that we've gone through. But then there is the biological transformation and changes that factor in as well, where you can't sleep, you can't, you got inflammation, everything hurts, short-temperedness, foggy brain, all of these things that we go through in menopause. I feel that everything that you're sharing here in terms of the work you do would be times 10 benefit to menopausal women. Talk to me, sister.
You actually just planted the seed for my next protocol that I'm developing.
Oh my God.
Thank you for that. Thank you for reminding me. I yes, I have had, but you know, they don't come to me by saying like it's the menopausal symptoms that they're trying to repair or heal. It's what I see is the stress, the sleep issues, the burning out feeling, just the constant brain fog even. Um,
Hmm.
for me, I'm actually planning on developing a personalized protocol just for menopausal women, but I feel that there's not a lot out there, right? Like, what can you do? I mean, how do you restore sleep well? Um, how can you find balance in just navigating through daily life when you're having these experiential issues constantly happening? It's not something that comes in the morning or at night. You're experiencing this all the time. The hot flashes, you know, certain things might trigger you, which may not have been like a trigger to you before. So
Hmm.
all of that, I feel that I think I'm going to devise certain protocols for it because there are certain frequencies that are intended for, maybe not so the hot flashes, but to cause probably more relaxation. Maybe these women need to be more experiencing theta wave sleeps so that their body can heal, so that the triggers of hot flashes are minimized.
Yeah.
And just feeling more balanced, and I feel feeling in more control during that process is highly beneficial.
Hmm.
Is that what you're feeling, or is like you feel like is lacking?
Yeah, all of the above, every single thing
Hmm.
that you just mentioned there. So, folks, if you are watching, listening, or reading this, Dr. Shireen Fernandez is going to be putting together a modality, and let me know if I am putting words in your mouth.
Hmm.
A modality specifically for high performing women
Yes.
and then for menopausal women. It's huge what we
It's
deal with. It's like it's adding a whole other layer on top of the layers of being human
Yes.
already in the world that we currently reside in, right?
And it's a lot to navigate,
Yeah.
without having guidance or something that, maybe you can do for yourselves on a daily basis. Are you doing anything, like are you doing more like say yoga, more meditation? Because I know that is something that you do anyway.
Yeah.
Are you introducing that into your life more?
I am, sweetheart. What I'm doing is I protect my auric field.
Mm-hmm.
I go through the Reiki healings of my body whenever I feel, certain things going on. Like right now, I've got a lot of kind of plexus and sacral
Mm,
challenges going on. I know where it's coming from a spiritual perspective, but there's
okay.
also the physiological perspective of being in menopause, which is also factoring into that as well. So I do focus a lot more on the energy healing around that part of my body, even in terms of, the meditation piece. Meditation for me is a flow. Sometimes it requires silence. Other times because you need the silence in order to hear the questions that you need to hear for yourself. But other times is things will come in and disrupt the silence because it's only in silence do we listen to the things that we ordinarily ignore. You right? Am I right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So a lot of this and physically like I'm doing Tai Chi, right? Because I can't do things that force my body into all kinds of physical, exertion. I'm not it doesn't resonate with my spirit. I feel like I'm off. Like,
Hmm.
I'm not an aerobics person. I won't do the all of the high energy stuff. It doesn't resonate.
Right. So you're
Like
forcing yourself out of the norm.
yeah, I
Yeah.
can't do it. I have to do things that I feel are
More aligned.
working together, like they're
Yeah.
working together with me,
Yeah.
right? So, it's interesting, Sharina. Like, I don't know if this is with you, but the more I open the layers of my spiritual understanding, the more symptoms come about. It's almost like they're saying, finally, you're
Hmm.
hearing me. I'm coming at you, Raj, right? Deal with this next one. And I feel like that's been happening a lot for me over the last couple of years,
Okay. Which is
right?
actually not a bad thing because think about it as suppressed. It's been suppressed for a long time, and now you're allowing it by presenting it with certain things, whatever that is for you and your body, for it to
Mm-hmm.
surface, and you have to release. Think about it. It has to surface and release. It's uncomfortable in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, but it needs to be released, and then you're going to feel the after effects. So
Absolutely.
just welcome it with open arms, allow yourself to be aligned in that process and allow it to like naturally occur.
And you know what? I need to come and have sessions with you.
Yes.
For people who are really intrigued by this, who really resonate towards this, or maybe simply curious, how can they book sessions with you? Where are you? What's the process? Can we just get into that quickly?
Sure. So my whole philosophy, it's a concierge model because I believe, instead of coming to an office or waiting room and doing all of that, you experience that. Sure, you have that great experience, but then guess what? You're going back home to wherever that is it could be your home that could be triggering you, right? So I figured out when I was going to people's homes, I saw the best results happening that way.
Oh, I love it.
So I just decided not to have a place where they come to me where, okay, this is not your, it is could be your haven, but then you're going back to something else. I want this to be at your comfort level, where your comfort zone is, wherever that is. So for me, I come to you. So I'm based out of South Florida. I do Sarasota right now in Naples area,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm also available with, Zoom sessions worldwide because this
Okay.
is something that actually can sound travels. So I
Mm-hmm.
can give you a sound session that I'm happy to offer to you, Raj,
Oh
over
my
our
God.
next Zoom session before I physically see you next month.
I cannot
So
wait,
you can
sweetheart.
experience this over our digital world because
Yeah.
thank God for this. Like I don't have to be physically in front of you because I can still give you the healing sounds that you need. So yes, I'm available online through my
How do they
website.
get hold of you? Yeah, website. Tell us how they can, connect with you and book a session, whether it be the concierge, physical, in their space, or whether it be
Virtual.
virtually online. Yeah, talk to us
Yes, you
about
can go
that.
to my website. It's quantumharmonicwellness.com. And it's very informative. There's a lot of information out there. I've written a lot of journals as well. But you can book a session and a discovery session with me on there, whether it's in person or virtual. And I also wrote it's my second book, but it's my first book in the whole organ intelligence series where I'm diving deep into going through each organ of your body and looking at it with an Ayurvedic lens and discovering many things that, was not in my medical school book, but combining that aspect with the Ayurveda wisdom and putting it all together. So I'm
Oh
excited
my
to share that
gosh.
with you guys.
So the book, folks, is called The Heart Intelligence Code, Cardiovascular Wisdom, Ancient Secrets to Modern Heart Health. Tell us a bit more about what people should expect from this book, which, by the way, folks, is available everywhere books are sold. Share
Yes.
a little bit about what people should expect from this book.
So expect that you're going to learn about your heart and not as how we like, think of it as a pump. It's been pumping since we were conceived till we take our last breath. So it's an immense organ. It has 40,000 neurons, so it can actually think on its own. It receives signals more than it gives out, or vice versa, and both actually. But it's how we neglect to look at it as an I want to call it almost like an own entity.
Hmm.
The heart is very powerful, but it's also about giving it the right treatment, the right care, the right attention by taking care of it so you don't get to a state where you are making it prone to disease. We don't want you to get to that chronic disease state where, heart attacks happen, where it's overloaded with stress. So I just dive more into that and basically tell you preventative methods of how to take care of it on a daily basis because it listens to you.
I
We
love
just we just
this.
don't listen to it.
I
So
need this book.
yes,
I'm going to buy the book because I want to support you. And then
thank you.
when we see each other next, I would be honored if you would sign it for me.
Of course, I would love to.
So this is book one of a series of books.
Hmm.
Talk to us about why you decided to do a series. My understanding would be it's so deeply complex that in order to give it justice, dedicating one theme per book is the best way. And I'm assuming that you're going to build upon each book. Am I putting words in your mouth?
No, you're absolutely right. Like we said, like we are a whole body, but like just in that in itself, we're mind, body, spirit. That makes up our beautiful presence. So I just feel that each organ needs its own dedication. Like we can't just assume that, okay, your heart is it or your brain is it. No, your gut and your spleen and your kidneys, they all are functioning in unison. And I feel like we don't pay any attention to it unless and until something goes wrong. My whole
Mm,
philosophy is don't let it get there. Treat it, give it love and attention, pay attention to it because they are talking to you. We don't listen. We don't listen
hmm
as humans. We don't listen as individuals. But when you actually tune in and go within, this is all about the whole thing about going within. And I'm going within, not just to your body as a whole, you're going within to each organ, identifying what it's doing for you on a daily basis. Um, Giving it the attention that I feel that it truly deserves. Like we
hmm
overlook this all the time, but when you start paying attention to it, one organ at a time, it's getting that love and that attention that it so desperately needs. And I'm just bringing that to the forefront and just planting that seed in everybody's mind to hopefully look at it differently from now
hmm
on.
Oh my God, I love it. I cannot wait to dive in, sweetheart. Knowing how your brain works outside of every single box, that
Mhm.
I can't wait to dive into this book, folks. Just make sure that you go and check it out. It will be in the caption, like the name of the book, so you can go search it by Dr. Shireen Fernandez. Shireen, I want to ask you, what kind of impact would you like to accomplish with the work that you're doing in this space? Let's put it all out there. Let's encapsulate it all.
What I would want people to just take out what you get from it and be open-minded. Um, be open to receive, be open to be able to discern, and mostly self-care. I can't emphasize enough how we think it's being selfish, but it's really not. I call it selfless. And I
Mhm.
feel like if we're
You know,
not.
a mutual friend of ours,
Mhm,
Shireen,
mhm,
coined a word,
mhm,
selfful. Do you
mhm.
remember that?
Yes, yes, I think I
That's
do.
the word.
Yes.
That's the word.
That's the word. Self-full, selfless, it's all the same. But, as individuals, if we take care of ourselves, we're not pouring out of an empty cup. And I think that really goes a long way. It's so
Yes.
simple, yet it's so profound, and I feel like it's so overlooked. And
hmm
it's that's all my message is. Just take care of yourselves as people, as individuals, and that way we would be living in a much beautiful world
hmm
together in unison with the same message going out to everybody. It's love,
It
self-love, and love others.
100%. Oh my God. Couldn't have said it better myself, sweetheart. Like I feel there's so much that we haven't talked about that I feel that I need to bring you back on for. And I'm going to be very mindful based off of everything we talked about today. What are the missing pieces? Like perhaps, guys out there, if there's a question you have, I'd love to be able to compile a whole bunch of questions and have Shireen come back on where we're literally just answering all those questions. I think that would be a really cool thing to do. Before we close out, Shireen, I want to do a cute little rapid fire with you where
Okay.
you finish the sentence. Are you game for that?
I'm game.
Okay, let's do it. So I have to ask you this. Confidence is
Being mindful.
true healing begins when
You love yourself.
the most overlooked factor in wellness is
Self-healing.
if your nervous system could speak, it would say,
Please help me.
one habit every woman should adopt immediately is,
Sleep 8 hours a day or more.
oh my God, do I know that about you? Okay, folks, I have to share this. I have to share this BTS about this lady who I've known for the last 18 years. We've traveled together in many different places and had wonderful experiences. And a lot of what we what binds us is conversations like this. Is that we just dive right in because we have a soul connection from many other lifetimes where we have been asking these questions, and we are constantly developing a deeper understanding of what is that exchange that we need to get from each other as humans. And that's the piece I feel is also missing. Another episode, Shireen,
Yes,
just on
yes,
that, right?
yes.
So what I want to, what I want to share regarding this lady is it doesn't matter who's knocking on that door, what is going on. The world could be ending, but this lady will always get in her 8 to 10 hours of undisturbed sleep.
Yes, yes, that hasn't changed. But now I just added on, remember my music. So now my music has changed. I'm mindful of the chirping birds. There's no chirping birds, but it's
Oh
white
my
noise.
God. I remember you used to do that and drive me nuts.
So I feel like like now if we have shared space again, I think you'll find the white noise that I listen to is much more gentler than the
Hmm.
chirping birds or the ocean waves. But
Yeah.
now the sleep mask on is great for me. I have to have my my satin sleep mask on. I'll get you one too.
Yeah, I would love
Get
that,
matching
sweetheart.
ones.
So we'll have to share notes on our white noise sleeping patterns because I
Yep.
listen ever so quietly, and I have been for the last since 2015. I
Mm-hmm.
listen every quietly every night, but I don't really listen to it. It's ever so quietly on, so I don't. My physical being doesn't hear it, but I know my spiritual being hears
Mm,
it and is impacted with it, and that is a certain frequency and tonality of the word Om.
I
Yeah.
love that. You got to
Mm.
share that
Oh
one.
my. Well, we're going to see each other soon, so I
Mm-hmm.
cannot wait for that.
Mm-hmm.
Any
Exactly.
final words? Anything you want to leave everyone with? Perhaps something I haven't asked you. What would that be? So we can close off.
I just want to say that true wellness is a very deeply personal concept. And I just want people to embrace that concept, whatever that is for you, Rena, at this point in your life, with faith and religion and all your beliefs. Just put that aside for a moment and just ask yourself, like, what does wellness mean to you? And how do you self love and take care of yourself? And whatever you get the answers, I invite everybody to ponder on that more and ask more and love yourself more and see where that takes you and like welcome that journey because it's a beautiful, beautiful journey.
Hmm. Once again, how can people book a session with you? And where can they hang out with you on social media or perhaps a newsletter that you may have?
So I would welcome everybody to go onto my website. It's quantumharmonicwellness.com. And there is a newsletter that you can subscribe to right there. You can also book a session with me over there and learn all about the different modalities that I offer. There's a lot of great articles in my journal and at my wellness atelier. So please, check it out and see what you get out of it. And I would welcome lots of feedback. And I'm here for anybody that wants to chat with me further. My social media is you can find me on Instagram at Quantum Harmonic Wellness. I have a personal page, but I think it is private right now. It's Shireen Doc, but you can go to my website. It's a world of knowledge out there.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, what an absolute pleasure. I feel blessed and honored to have you spend this last hour and a half with me and my beautiful community of women and men. We have a lot of men that allyship around the work that we do here as well, Shireen. And I know that there's going to be a lot of questions. Please, guys, I encourage you, put questions in the comments. I'd love to amalgamate them and bring Dr. Shireen Fernandez back on to answer questions specifically for you. I've asked her the questions that I felt more aligned with what I feel my community would love. But I know that we've only just scratched the surface of this. There's
Mhm.
so much more that we can do. I'd love to have you back on, my darling. And one of our live in person panel discussion networking events for the Open Just Confidence Academy. I need you to come on. I need you to talk a little bit more about, this way of journeying through life. I would be honored.
Absolutely. I would be honored. It would be an honor and privilege. But thank you so much for having me on today. I'm so happy we got a chance to do this, and I was able to share just a little tiny bit of my knowledge that I've acquired in this
Tiny
journey.
bit, sister.
No, it's
It's
it's a wonderful
poof.
journey called life, but we're all in it together, and I love you and I love your show, and I'm just so honored. So thank you so much for having me on and giving me this opportunity to share.
Oh my gosh, sweetheart. Thank you so much. It's been such an honor and a pleasure. And I know that everybody is just I feel like it'll open a can of worms that needs to be opened,
Yes.
right? And instead of worms coming out, it's going to be floating butterflies, right?
Yes, absolutely. Love it. Love it. Butterflies and glitter.
Oh my God, I love it. Thank you so much, my darling. I'll see
Thank
you next
you.
time.
Yes, thank you.